The flight attendant grabbed the little black girl's arm and shoved her toward the back of the plane. I said, "Move. First class isn't for people like you." 8 years old, alone, 37,000 feet in the air. The child stumbled but didn't fall. She turned around slowly. Her eyes weren't filled with tears. They were filled with fire. "Take your hands off me, or what you'll cry to your daddy." The little girl smiled, a smile that made the flight attendant's blood run cold. "Yes, I will." She pulled out her phone. "And when I'm done, you won't have a job to go back to." What happened next shocked everyone on that plane. If you want to see how this satisfying story ends, subscribe to our channel, watch until the very end, and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. Now let me take you back 6 hours to where this incredible journey began. Part 1. Marcus Williams answered his phone on the first ring. "Linda, what is it?" "Sir, there's a situation with Zara's flight." His heart stopped. His coffee cup froze halfway to his lips. "What kind of situation?" "She's fine, sir. She's safe. But she's asking for you. She says there's a flight attendant treating passengers badly. She's documented everything." Marcus set down his cup. His jaw tightened. "Get me James Calloway." "Sir." "The CEO of Continental American Airways. Get him on the phone, now. Tell him his fuel supplier needs to talk." "Yes, sir. Right away." Marcus ended the call and stared at his phone. His little girl was 37,000 feet in the air, facing exactly the kind of situation he'd spent years preparing her for. He'd hoped this day would never come, but he'd known it would. 6 hours earlier, Zara had stood in his penthouse doorway, already dressed in her favorite purple dress. "Daddy, I can't sleep." Marcus had turned from the window where he'd been watching Houston wake up. "Nervous about the trip?" "Maybe a little." He'd crossed the room and knelt down to her level. His knees protested. He ignored them. "You know what makes brave people brave? They do it anyway." "That's my girl." He'd pulled out her travel documents. "Let's go over everything one more time." "Daddy, we've been over it 100 times. Then let's make it 101. Zara had sighed, but sat down beside him on the couch. She'd listened as he reviewed every detail: the boarding pass, the identification, the emergency contacts, the unaccompanied minor forms. "Now, tell me what you do if someone makes you uncomfortable." "Find an airline employee. Tell them my name. Show them my documentation." "And if an airline employee makes you uncomfortable—" Zara had paused. This question always made her pause. "I stay calm. I document what they say and do. I ask for their name, and I call you." "Why do you document?" "Because feelings can be dismissed, facts can't." "And why do you stay calm?" "Because anger gives them an excuse to ignore me." Marcus had nodded slowly. These weren't lessons any father wanted to teach his daughter, but the world was what it was. "Remember who you are, Zara. Always. You are brilliant. You are worthy. You deserve respect. And if someone doesn't give me respect, then you make them." "How?" Marcus had smiled, but there was steel in it. "By being smarter than them. By being calmer than them. By having more power than them and knowing exactly when to use it." Zara had looked at him with those dark eyes that reminded him so much of her mother. "Mama used to say the same thing. Your mama was the smartest person I ever knew. Where do you think I learned it?" They'd hugged then, father and daughter, the only family they had left since cancer took his wife 3 years ago. "I miss her, Daddy." "Me too, baby. Every single day." At the airport, Marcus had walked Zara through security himself. Teresa, the gate agent, had met them with a warm smile. "Mr. Williams, I'm Teresa. I'll take care of Zara until she's on the plane." Marcus had assessed her with the same sharp eye he used in business negotiations. Teresa passed. Her smile was genuine. She spoke directly to Zara, not about her. "You ready, sweetheart?" Zara had looked up at her father one last time. "I'm ready." But Marcus had held her back for one more moment. "Zara, remember, if anything happens, anything at all, I call you. And what will I do? Whatever it takes." "That's right. Whatever it takes." He'd released her then, watched her walk away down the jetway, that small backpack bouncing with each step. He'd had no idea how soon those words would be tested. Patricia Henderson checked her reflection in the crew ready room mirror for the 4th time. Hair perfect, makeup flawless, uniform crisp, 20 years with Continental American Airways, 20 years of climbing from regional flights to international routes to first class, 20 years of dealing with passengers who thought they were better than her just because they could afford expensive tickets. She'd earned her place here. Michael Chen, her junior colleague, looked up from his tablet. Interesting manifest today. Tech CEO in 2A, newlyweds in 3C and 3D, unaccompanied minor in 2C. Unaccompanied minor in first class. Happens sometimes, rich parents who can't travel with their kids. Patricia's lips pressed thin. In her experience, children in first class meant trouble. Demanding, entitled, expecting to be treated like little princes and princesses. What's the child's name? Zara Williams. Ticket purchased by Marcus Williams. Williams. The name tugged at something in her memory. She couldn't place it. Let's get moving. I want everything perfect before boarding. But perfect for Patricia meant something very specific. It meant a certain kind of passenger received a certain kind of service. The right kind of passenger. The kind who belonged. The kind who looked like they could actually afford first class. She'd never examined this belief too closely. She told herself it was about professionalism, about standards, about recognizing patterns. She'd been telling herself that lie for 20 years. Boarding began at 9:15 a.m. Robert Mitchell walked in first. Silver hair, expensive watch, confident stride. "Good morning, Mr. Mitchell. Welcome aboard. You're in 1A. She didn't ask for his boarding pass, didn't need to. He belonged here. Obviously. David Chen walked in second. Patricia's smile tightened. "May I see your boarding pass, sir?" David handed it over without expression. Patricia studied it, studied his face, studied his suit, which was clearly expensive but somehow still suspicious. "Seat 2A, that's up front on your right." "I know where it is. I fly this route monthly." "Of course. Just checking." But she followed him down the aisle. "Sir, are you certain this is your seat? Economy boarding begins shortly. Those seats are toward the back." David turned. His expression flickered with something before he controlled it. "Yes, I'm certain. This is my seat." Just making sure. She returned to her position. She didn't notice David pull out his phone and start typing notes. She didn't notice anything except the next passengers. Aisha and Marcus Johnson appeared in the doorway, and Patricia felt her instincts flare. The woman wore a bright African print dress, a head wrap that added inches to her height. The man held her hand like she was precious. They were both practically glowing. Newlyweds. First time in first class. Obviously. "Boarding passes, please." They handed them over eagerly. Patricia examined Marcus Johnson's pass with exaggerated care. There was a tiny smudge on the printing, barely visible. "I'm going to need to verify this with the gate." Aisha's smile crumbled. "Is something wrong?" "Just a precaution. Please step aside." "But we checked in properly," Marcus protested. "Everything was fine at the counter. I need to verify. Please step aside." They moved to the side of the doorway. Their excitement drained away as other passengers squeezed past them. White passengers, Asian passengers, all waved through without delay. Patricia made a show of calling the gate. She spoke in low tones. She nodded seriously. She drew out the process. 15 minutes passed, 15 minutes of the Johnsons standing there, while everyone else settled in with champagne and warm towels. Finally, Patricia returned. "Everything checks out. You may proceed. Seats 3C and 3D. "Thank you," Aisha whispered. Her eyes were wet. As they passed, Patricia leaned toward Michael and spoke just loud enough to be overheard. "I don't know how they afforded these seats." Aisha stumbled. Marcus caught her, guided her forward. His face was stone. They found their seats in silence, their honeymoon joy destroyed. Then came the child. Teresa escorted Zara onto the plane personally. "This is Zara. She's our unaccompanied minor. Seat 2C. Patricia looked down at the girl, purple dress, gold beaded braids, small backpack covered with airplane pins. Expensive backpack, Patricia noted. Expensive dress, too. But that didn't mean anything. People put on airs all the time. "I'll take it from here." Teresa knelt down to Zara. "You'll have a great flight, sweetie. Press your call button if you need anything." "Thank you, Teresa." Teresa left. Patricia was alone with the child. "Well," Patricia said, "aren't you in the wrong seat, sweetheart?" Zara looked up at her. "No, ma'am. This is 2C. "Let me see your boarding pass." Zara produced it. Patricia studied it like it was written in code. An unaccompanied minor in first class. Very unusual. "My father bought the ticket. I'm visiting my grandmother." "What does your father do?" "He works in energy." Patricia's eyebrow arched. Black family from Houston. Father works in energy. Probably some mid-level employee who saved for months. "I'm going to need to verify this. You might be more comfortable in economy with the other families." Something changed in Zara's eyes, a flash of steel. "This isn't a mistake. This is my seat." "I'm sure you think it is, sweetheart. Let me just make a quick call." Patricia walked away to make her unnecessary verification call. Zara sat down in her seat. She was aware of David Chen watching her from 2A. She was aware of the Johnsons in 3C and 3D sitting in devastated silence. She was aware of the pattern forming around her. She pulled out a small notebook and she began to write. Time: 9:23 a.m. Flight attendant P. Henderson questioned my boarding pass and seat assignment. Suggested I would be more comfortable in economy. Did not question white passenger in 1A. The documentation had begun. Patricia returned 5 minutes later. "Everything checks out. But don't touch anything unnecessarily. The equipment is very delicate." "I understand." Patricia moved away. She had no idea that an 8-year-old girl had just begun building a case against her. The plane took off at 9:47 a.m. As soon as the seatbelt sign dinged off, Patricia began her rounds. She brought Robert Mitchell a warm towel with a genuine smile. She dropped a towel on David Chen's tray without making eye contact. She bypassed the Johnsons entirely. "Excuse me," Marcus Johnson called out. "We didn't get towels." Patricia turned back with exaggerated surprise. "Oh, I must have missed you. How clumsy of me." She retrieved 2 towels and handed them over without apology. Zara wrote it all down. 9:52 a.m. P. Henderson served warm towels to 1A first with conversation. Dropped towel on 2A without eye contact. Skipped 3C and 3D entirely. Had to be reminded. An hour into the flight, Patricia began meal service. "Mr. Mitchell," she said warmly, leaning close to 1A, "for your main course we have pan-seared Chilean sea bass herb-crusted lamb chops or wild mushroom risotto. Which would you prefer?" "The sea bass sounds wonderful, Patricia, and another glass of that Chardonnay." "Of course, coming right up." She prepared his meal with care, extra bread, wine poured with a flourish, lingered to ensure his satisfaction. Then she moved to David Chen in 2A. No menu presentation, no options. She simply set a tray in front of him. "The lamb chops." David looked at the meal, looked at her. "I requested the vegetarian option when I booked." Patricia sighed, loudly. "That's not what I have listed." "Would you like to see my confirmation?" "Sir, I have a cabin full of passengers." David pulled out his phone, showed her the screen. Vegetarian meal selected. Patricia's expression flickered with annoyance. "I'll see what I can find." She took the lamb chops and walked away, but she didn't come back quickly. She served Robert Mitchell seconds. She chatted with him about his business trip. She refilled his wine. She served the passengers behind David. All of them. 17 minutes passed. David sat with an empty tray while everyone around him ate. Finally, Patricia returned with the mushroom risotto. She placed it on his tray with a thunk. "Anything else?" "No." She walked away without apology. Zara documented it. 10:47 a.m. to 11:04 a.m. P. Henderson served wrong meal to 2A. Made him wait 17 minutes for correct meal. Served all other passengers first. No apology offered. The Johnsons received identical treatment. "Excuse me, Aisha said when Patricia placed a lamb dish in front of her. I also requested vegetarian. Patricia's face showed pure exasperation. Are you certain? Yes, I'm certain. I'll have to check. She made them wait. She served everyone else. She chatted with Robert Mitchell about wine selections. 22 minutes passed before Aisha received her correct meal. Neither of the Johnsons said thank you. They ate in silence, their appetites gone. Then, Patricia reached Zara. The children's meal is chicken nuggets or pasta. Which one? Zara looked up from her notebook. May I see the menu, please? Patricia blinked. The children's meal is chicken nuggets or pasta. I heard you. I'd like to see the full menu. That's not really appropriate for someone your age. May I see the menu, please? Something ugly flickered across Patricia's face. She handed over the menu card with obvious reluctance. Zara studied it carefully. Sea bass, lamb, risotto, salmon. The same options offered to Robert Mitchell. I'd like the grilled salmon. That's an adult meal. I'm aware. I'd like the salmon. The children's meal is more appropriate for... My father allows me to order what I want. I'd like the grilled salmon, please. Patricia's jaw tightened. Other passengers were watching now. David Chen had turned to observe. Marcus Johnson was paying attention. Fine. She stalked to the galley. When she returned with the salmon, she placed it on Zara's tray with a thunk. No silverware, no napkin, no water refill. May I have silverware, please? Patricia was already walking away. Excuse me, I need silverware. Patricia turned back with an eye roll she didn't bother to hide. What? Silverware. Please. Patricia grabbed a fork and knife and practically threw them onto Zara's tray. Thank you. Zara documented it all. 11:31 a.m. P. Henderson attempted to limit my meal options to children's menu, refused to provide silverware initially. Eye roll witnessed by multiple passengers. 2 hours into the flight, Aisha Johnson stood up to use the restroom. She took 3 steps toward the first-class lavatory. Patricia appeared out of nowhere, blocking her path. Ma'am, the economy bathrooms are in the back of the aircraft. Aisha stopped, confused. I'm sorry, the economy lavatories. They're past the galley. I'm in first class, seat 3C. Ma'am, I need you to use the appropriate facilities. The words hung in the air like a slap. Every passenger in first class stopped what they were doing. Conversations died. Entertainment screens went dark. All eyes turned to the confrontation in the aisle. I am a first-class passenger. Aisha's voice rose. I just told you. Seat 3C. I paid for this ticket. Marcus was out of his seat instantly. What's going on? She's trying to send me to economy, Aisha said. Her voice shook with 3 hours of accumulated humiliation. We're first-class passengers, Marcus said to Patricia. Our seats are right there. Why would you think we need to use economy bathrooms? Patricia's mask cracked. Sir, if you and your wife would just answer my question. Silence. The question demanded an answer Patricia couldn't give, because the real answer would require her to acknowledge something she'd spent 20 years denying. I apologize for the confusion, she finally said. You may use the lavatory. She stepped aside. Aisha walked past her with tears streaming down her face. Marcus stood in the aisle shaking with rage. He wanted to say something, demand accountability, force her to admit what she'd done, but he knew the game, knew that his anger, no matter how justified, would be used against him. He returned to his seat in silence. The cabin slowly returned to normal, but nothing was normal anymore. Zara documented everything. 1:47 p.m. P. Henderson attempted to direct Mrs. Johnson 3D to economy bathrooms despite her clear first-class status. Mrs. Johnson visibly crying after incident, and then came the reading light. 3 hours into the flight, David Chen was trying to review contracts on his laptop. His overhead light had stopped working an hour ago. He'd tried the switch repeatedly. Nothing. Finally, he pressed the call button. Ding. Patricia emerged from the galley with visible irritation. What is it? My reading light isn't working. Could you take a look? Patricia glanced up at the light without actually examining it. I'm not maintenance, sir. You'll have to manage. Surely there's something you can try. A portable lamp, perhaps. Sir, I have a cabin full of passengers. The light doesn't work. I suggest you adjust. She walked away. David sat in semi-darkness, contracts unread, jaw tight with anger. 5 minutes later, Robert Mitchell pressed his call button. Ding. Patricia appeared instantly, her entire demeanor transformed. Yes, Mr. Mitchell. What can I do for you? My reading light seems a bit dim, having trouble with my spreadsheets. Oh, let me look right away. She leaned over his seat, toggled the switch, adjusted the angle, tested the brightness. You're right, it is dim. Let me see what I can do. She disappeared to the back of the cabin. 30 seconds later, she returned with a portable LED lamp. Here we are, she said brightly, clipping it to his seat. This should be perfect. Wonderful, Patricia. Thank you so much. No trouble at all. That's what I'm here for. She lingered another moment before heading back to the galley. The contrast was undeniable. David's broken light. I'm not maintenance. Manage without it. Robert's dim light. Immediate attention. Troubleshooting. Portable lamp from storage. A lamp that existed. A lamp that was available. A lamp that somehow hadn't been an option for David 5 minutes earlier. David Chen sat in his darkened seat and stared at the bright light illuminating Robert Mitchell's work. Something broke inside him. Not his spirit. He was too strong for that. His patience. He pulled out his phone and began typing a detailed complaint to Continental American's customer service. But he wasn't the only one who'd reached a breaking point. Zara closed her notebook. She'd seen everything. She'd documented everything. And now she was going to do something about it. She unbuckled her seatbelt. She stood up. She was 8 years old. She was alone. She was facing a 45-year-old woman with 20 years of experience dismissing complaints exactly like the one she was about to make. But Zara Williams was her father's daughter. She pressed her call button. Ding! Patricia emerged from the galley, checked her panel, saw which seat had called. The child. Again. She took her time, straightened her uniform, checked her hair, composed her expression. Then she walked to seat 2C with deliberate slowness. Yes, one word, dripping with condescension. Zara looked up at her with steady eyes. I'd like to speak with you about your service. Patricia's eyebrows rose. Everything is fine. Go back to your book. No, it's not fine. Zara's voice was calm, but carried through the quiet cabin. You've been treating the Black and Asian passengers differently all flight. The words fell like stones into still water. Passengers sat up. Entertainment screens went dark. Books lowered. Every person in first class stopped breathing. Patricia's face flushed red. Sweetheart, you don't understand how airlines work. There are protocols. I understand discrimination when I see it. Zara opened her notebook. You questioned Mr. Chen's boarding pass twice, but didn't check Mr. Mitchell's at all. Patricia's face went from red to white. You made Mr. and Mrs. Johnson wait 15 minutes to verify their tickets, while other passengers boarded without delay. The blood continued draining. You said, quote, I don't know how they afforded these seats. Aisha let out a sob. Marcus pulled her close. You served Mr. Chen the wrong meal and made him wait 17 minutes for the correct one. You did the same to Mrs. Johnson, 22 minutes. You served everyone else first. No apologies. Patricia's hands started to shake. You tried to send Mrs. Johnson to the economy bathroom even though she's clearly a first-class passenger. The shaking spread to her shoulders. You refused to help Mr. Chen when his reading light broke. You told him you're not maintenance. But 5 minutes later, you brought Mr. Mitchell a portable lamp for a light that was just a bit dim. Each fact landed like a hammer blow. I've documented everything. Times, names, specific incidents, every single one. Patricia finally found her voice. Lower your voice. You're disturbing passengers. But Zara didn't lower her voice. I'd like your employee number and full name. I'm filing a formal complaint. Patricia laughed. Nervous, forced. You're a child. Sit down. I'm a passenger who witnessed discriminatory behavior. I'm entitled to your identification. The words were precise, rehearsed. Because they had been rehearsed, her father had prepared her for exactly this moment. Patricia looked around the cabin, all eyes on her. She was losing control. So she did what cornered people do. She doubled down. "This is your chance to apologize," Zara said, "to everyone you've mistreated." Patricia's expression twisted into something ugly. Apologize? To who? Some people who should be grateful they're even allowed up here. Gasps rippled through the cabin. Patricia wasn't finished. "Listen to me, little girl. I don't know who you think you are, but I've been doing this job since before you were born. I don't need some child telling me how to do my work." Her voice dropped to a hiss. "Now sit down, be quiet, and stop making trouble, or I will have the captain come out here and deal with you personally." The threat hung in the air, but Zara didn't flinch. "That's your choice," she said calmly, "but I'm giving you one chance to apologize. If you do, this ends here." Patricia's lip curled with contempt. "Apologize to some kid whose daddy bought her a fancy ticket? I don't think so, sweetheart. Now sit down before I have you removed from this cabin." Zara nodded slowly. "Okay." She reached into the seat pocket and pulled out her phone. Not a regular phone, a satellite phone, the kind that cost thousands of dollars, the kind that worked anywhere in the world. Patricia's contempt flickered. "What are you doing? Calling my daddy, like I told you I would. Put that phone away." "No." Zara unlocked the screen and pressed a single contact. The phone rang through the cabin. Once, twice. "Zara, baby. Are you okay?" "I'm on the plane, Daddy. I need you to make a call." Patricia's face went completely white. Something about the phone, the satellite capability, the obvious expense, the absolute certainty in Zara's voice. "What's wrong? Are you safe?" "I'm safe. But there's a flight attendant who's been treating passengers badly all flight. I documented everything like you taught me. I asked her to apologize and she refused." Zara looked directly at Patricia. "She called me some kid whose daddy bought her a fancy ticket." Silence on the line. Then Marcus Williams's voice changed. No longer the worried father. Now the CEO. Now the man who had built a $4.8 billion empire. Now the man whose company supplied $280 million worth of jet fuel to Continental American Airways every single year. "What's the flight number?" "CA447, Houston to New York." The flight attendant's name, Patricia Henderson. "Stay on the line, baby." Through the phone, the cabin heard movement, papers rustling, another phone being picked up. Then Marcus Williams' voice, slightly muffled. "Linda, get me James Calloway, the CEO of Continental American. Tell him it's Marcus Williams and it's urgent. Tell him his fuel supplier needs to talk. Now." Patricia stumbled backward. James Calloway, the CEO, fuel supplier, Williams Energy Corporation. Oh God. The realization hit her like a physical blow. This wasn't some kid whose daddy bought her a fancy ticket. This was the daughter of one of the most powerful businessmen in the American energy sector. This was the daughter of the man whose signature kept Continental American's planes in the air. And Patricia had just told her to sit down and shut up. Marcus Williams's voice returned. "Zara, I have James Calloway on the line. He wants to hear what happened. Can you tell him everything?" "Yes, Daddy." A new voice came through the phone, male, professional, terrified. "Hello, Zara. This is James Calloway, CEO of Continental American Airways. Your father tells me you've experienced some serious problems on one of our flights. Can you tell me exactly what happened?" Zara took a breath, then she began. She told him about boarding, about David Chen being questioned while Robert Mitchell was waved through, about the Johnsons waiting 15 minutes while their tickets were verified. She told him about the comment, "I don't know how they afforded these seats." She told him about the meal service, wrong meals, 17-minute waits, 22-minute waits, no apologies. She told him about the bathroom incident, Mrs. Johnson directed to economy, the tears. She told him about the reading light, David Chen dismissed, Robert Mitchell accommodated, the portable lamp that suddenly existed. She told him about the confrontation, the threats, the contempt, the words Patricia had used. Some kid whose daddy bought her a fancy ticket. Every fact, every timestamp, every word, delivered with the precision of a prosecutor. When she finished, silence hung over the cabin. Then James Calloway spoke, and his voice was ice. "Thank you, Zara. What you've described is absolutely unacceptable. It violates everything this airline stands for. I assure you we will be taking immediate action." He paused. "Is Miss Henderson there?" "Yes, sir." "Put her on the phone." Zara extended the phone toward Patricia. Patricia took it with a hand that shook so badly she could barely grip it. She raised it to her ear and turned slightly away from the cabin. "This is Patricia Henderson." The passengers couldn't hear James Calloway's words, but they could see Patricia's face crumble. They could see her hand come up to cover her mouth. They could see tears start streaming down her cheeks. They could see her nodding, saying, "Yes, sir," over and over, her voice breaking. They could see 20 years of career evaporating in real time. When she finally lowered the phone, her makeup was ruined. Her composure was gone. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She handed the phone back to Zara without a word. Marcus Williams's voice came through one last time. "Zara, baby, are you okay?" "Yes, Daddy." "Mr. Calloway has handled it. You'll have different flight attendants for the rest of the flight. When you land, there will be people waiting." "Okay, Daddy. I'm so proud of you. You did exactly right. I learned from you. I love you, baby. I love you too." She ended the call. Patricia stood there, broken tears cutting tracks through her makeup. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." Zara's expression didn't soften. "Don't apologize to me. Apologize to them." She pointed at David Chen sitting in his darkened seat. She pointed at Aisha and Marcus Johnson holding each other and crying. She pointed at every passenger who had witnessed what happened. Patricia turned to face the cabin. 16 pairs of eyes stared back. "I apologize," she said, her voice cracking, "to all of you. I was wrong. I made assumptions I shouldn't have. I treated people differently because of—" She couldn't finish, but everyone knew how the sentence ended. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. "I'm so sorry." Then she turned and walked to the galley, disappearing behind the curtain, her shoulders shaking with sobs. The cabin was silent. Then David Chen stood up. He walked to Zara's seat and knelt down. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You did what I should have done hours ago." Zara looked at him with those wise young eyes. "My father says silence is a choice. When you can speak up and don't, you're choosing to let wrong win." David felt those words settle into his chest like stones. "Your father is a wise man." "I know." Marcus Johnson approached next, Aisha still clinging to his arm. "Young lady, you gave us our dignity back today." Aisha couldn't speak through her tears. She just squeezed Zara's hand. Then Robert Mitchell stood up. He walked over slowly, his expensive suit suddenly less impressive, his silver hair less distinguished. "I owe you an apology, too," he said. "I saw everything, and I said nothing." He paused. "I told myself it wasn't my business, but I was wrong. I stayed quiet because I was comfortable, because I was benefiting. That was cowardly." Zara nodded. "Thank you for saying that. My father says privilege means having power without consequences. If you have power and don't use it to help, you're choosing wrong." Robert Mitchell felt those words brand themselves into his memory. He walked back to his seat, stopped at the portable reading lamp still attached to his tray table. He unclipped it, carried it across the aisle, handed it to David Chen. "This should have been yours," he said. "From the beginning." David accepted it with a nod. "Thank you." The remaining hour passed in a different atmosphere. Michael took over first-class service. He treated every passenger with equal care, equal attention, equal respect. He brought David a fresh meal without being asked. He stopped by the Johnsons to apologize personally. He made sure Zara had everything she needed. When the captain announced their descent into JFK, every passenger in first class felt like they'd witnessed something important, something that would change them, something they'd carry forever. The plane touched down at 2:14 p.m. Eastern. But before anyone could move, the captain's voice came back. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. We have airline representatives boarding before deplaning begins." Through the windows, passengers could see people at the gate, dark suits, security personnel, and at the front of the group, a tall woman in her 70s with silver hair and a purple dress the exact shade of Zara's. Eleanor Williams had arrived. The cabin doors opened. A severe-looking woman stepped aboard first. "Miss Henderson, I'm Jennifer Morrison, Regional Director of Human Resources. Come with me, now." Patricia emerged from the galley. Face swollen, makeup destroyed, uniform disheveled. She didn't protest, didn't argue. She simply followed Jennifer Morrison down the jetway. 20 years. Over. Eleanor Williams stepped onto the plane. She walked straight to her granddaughter, wrapped her arms around her, and held tight. "I heard you were very brave today." "I just did what Daddy taught me." "And what did he teach you?" Zara pulled back and looked up at her grandmother. "That dignity isn't negotiable. That respect is something to expect. That silence in the face of wrong is the same as being wrong yourself." Eleanor smiled through her tears. "Your mother would be so proud." "I know, Grandma, I know." They walked off the plane together. Behind them, passengers gathered their belongings in silence. David Chen was already composing an email to every business contact he had recommending Williams Energy Corporation. The Johnsons were holding hands, their faith in justice restored. Robert Mitchell was staring at his empty tray table, thinking about all the times he'd stayed silent, vowing never again. And somewhere in the terminal, Patricia Henderson was learning that 53 previous complaints had been pulled from her file, that every passenger she'd ever mistreated was being contacted, that her 20-year career was only the beginning of what she'd lost. But those consequences were still unfolding. That reckoning was still coming. And Zara Williams, 8 years old with gold beads in her braids, was already in her grandmother's car, heading toward Manhattan, heading toward family, heading toward a future where she would never ever let anyone make her feel small. She'd proven something today, not just to Patricia Henderson, not just to the passengers on Flight CA447, to herself. She was her father's daughter. She was her mother's legacy. She was Zara Williams, and she was just getting started. The phone was already ringing when Patricia Henderson realized she'd made the worst mistake of her life. 3 rings, 4 rings. Then a voice answered that made the color drain from her face completely. "Zara, baby, what's wrong?" "Daddy, a flight attendant just grabbed my arm and pushed me." Silence on the line, the kind of silence that comes before a storm. She did what? She grabbed me and tried to push me to the back of the plane. She said, "First class isn't for people like me." Marcus Williams's voice dropped to something cold and deadly. "Put her on speaker, right now." Zara pressed the button. Marcus's voice filled the first-class cabin. "This is Marcus Williams, who touched my daughter." Patricia's mouth opened, but no sound came out. "I asked you a question." "Who put their hands on my child?" "Sir, there's been a misunderstanding. I was simply—" "You touched an 8-year-old girl. You put your hands on her and pushed her. There is no misunderstanding. There is only what you did." Patricia's hands were shaking so badly she had to grip the headrest of the nearest seat. "Sir, please, if we could just— What's your name?" "Patricia Henderson." "Patricia Henderson, 20 years with Continental American, senior flight attendant, employee number 447829. Patricia went white. "How do you know that?" "I know everything about everyone who works on airlines that buy fuel from my company, and right now I'm looking at your employee file on my screen." David Chen leaned forward in his seat. The Johnsons had stopped crying. Every passenger in first class was watching. 47 complaints in 20 years, Marcus continued. 47 passengers who said you treated them differently because of their race. 47 complaints that were dismissed, filed away, ignored. Patricia's legs buckled. She grabbed the armrest harder. 48 now, because my daughter is going to be the last person you ever discriminate against on an airplane. "Mr. Williams, please. I have a family. I have bills. This job is all I have." You should have thought about that before you put your hands on my child." Zara watched Patricia crumble. Part of her felt something that might have been pity, but then she remembered the woman's grip on her arm, the shove, the words, "First class isn't for people like you." The pity disappeared. "I'm calling James Calloway now," Marcus said. "While I do that, I want you to apologize to every single person in that cabin that you've mistreated today, and I want my daughter to record every word." "Yes, sir. Yes, I'll do that. I'll apologize." "Zara, baby, start recording." Zara opened her camera app and pointed it at Patricia. The flight attendant looked into the lens like she was staring at her own grave. "I'm sorry," Patricia whispered. "Louder," Marcus's voice commanded through the phone. "I'm sorry, to all of you. I was wrong. I made assumptions I shouldn't have made. I treated you differently because—" She stopped. "Say it," Marcus said. "Because of the color of your skin." The words hung in the air, heavy, damning, recorded. "I was racist," Patricia continued, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want to admit it. I told myself it was about professionalism, about standards, but it wasn't. It was racism, pure and simple." She turned to David Chen. "Mr. Chen, I apologize for questioning your boarding pass, for making you wait for your meal, for refusing to help you with your reading light while I helped Mr. Mitchell with his." David nodded slowly. "I accept your apology, but accepting it doesn't mean what you did was okay." I know it doesn't." She turned to the Johnsons. "Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I apologize for making you wait during boarding, for saying what I said about how you could afford your tickets, for trying to send you to the economy bathroom." Aisha was crying again, but differently now. These weren't tears of humiliation, they were tears of release. "This was supposed to be our honeymoon," she said quietly, "the happiest trip of our lives." "I know, and I'm so sorry I ruined that." Marcus spoke on the phone. "I'm the one who should apologize to you. You deserve better. This airline owes you better." "Thank you," Marcus Johnson said. "That means something." Finally, Patricia turned to Zara. The little girl stood there with her phone raised, still recording, her eyes steady and unforgiving. "Zara, I apologize for questioning your ticket, for suggesting you didn't belong here, for asking about your father's job like I had any right to know, for refusing you silverware, for rolling my eyes at you." She took a shaky breath. "And I apologize for grabbing your arm, for pushing you, for putting my hands on you. There is no excuse for that. None." Zara lowered her phone. "I forgive you," she said, "but forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences." Patricia nodded, tears still falling. "I know." Marcus's voice came through the phone again. "I have James Calloway on the other line. Patricia Henderson, your employment with Continental American Airways is terminated effective immediately. When this plane lands, you will be escorted off by security. Your final paycheck will be mailed. Do not attempt to contact any passengers from this flight. Do not attempt to contact my daughter. Do not attempt to contact me. Is that clear?" "Yes, sir." "Good. Now go sit in the galley and don't come out until we land." Patricia walked away on legs that barely held her. She disappeared behind the curtain, and moments later, the passengers could hear her sobbing. Michael, the other flight attendant, who had been watching from the back of the cabin, stepped forward. "I'm so sorry," he said to the cabin. "I should have said something. I saw what was happening and I didn't intervene. That was wrong." David Chen looked at him. "Why didn't you—" "I was afraid. She's been here 20 years. I've been here 6 months. I thought if I said something, I'd lose my job." "So you stayed silent?" "Yes, and I'm ashamed of that." Marcus Williams spoke through the phone. "Michael, is it?" "Yes, sir." "You made a mistake today, but you're acknowledging it. That counts for something. The question is what you're going to do differently next time." "I'll speak up, sir. I promise." "Don't promise me. Promise the passengers you failed today." Michael turned to face the cabin. "I promise all of you. If I ever see discrimination happening again, I will speak up, immediately, regardless of the consequences." Robert Mitchell stood up from his seat. "I need to say something too." The cabin turned to look at him. "I'm Robert Mitchell. I've been flying first class for 30 years. I've seen what happened today happen 100 times before, and I never said anything, not once. He paused, his voice thick with shame. I benefited from the discrimination. I got faster service, better treatment, portable lamps when other people got nothing. And I told myself it wasn't my problem, that I didn't create the system, that I was just a passenger. He looked at Zara. But that little girl just taught me something. Silence is a choice, and I've been choosing wrong for 30 years. He walked to David Chen's seat. I'm sorry I didn't speak up when she questioned your boarding pass. I'm sorry I didn't say anything when you sat in the dark while I had a lamp. I'm sorry I've been complicit in a system that treats people like you as less than people like me. David stood up and shook his hand. Thank you for saying that. It takes courage to admit complicity. It takes more courage to do what that child did. I'm 63 years old, and I didn't have a fraction of her bravery. He turned to the Johnsons. I'm sorry to you both as well. Your honeymoon should have been beautiful. I'm sorry it wasn't. Marcus Johnson nodded. We appreciate that. Robert reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. I own a boutique hotel in Manhattan. When you're ready for a real honeymoon experience, you call me. I'll put you up in our best suite for a week. No charge. It's the least I can do. Aisha's eyes widened. We couldn't possibly. Please, let me do this. Let me try to make something right. Marcus Johnson took the card. Thank you. We'll think about it. Marcus Williams spoke through the phone again. Zara, baby, I need you to do something for me. What is it, Daddy? I need you to get the contact information from everyone in that cabin who witnessed what happened. Mr. Chen, the Johnsons, Mr. Mitchell, anyone else who saw it. Can you do that? Yes, Daddy. Good girl. When you land, there's going to be an investigation. A real one this time. Not like the 47 times before. These witnesses are going to make sure that what happened to you never happens to anyone else on this airline. Zara walked down the aisle with her notebook. David Chen gave her his card, Chief Technology Officer of a Fortune 500 company. The Johnsons gave her their phone numbers, both of them. Robert Mitchell added his card to the pile. 3 other passengers who had witnessed everything came forward. A lawyer from Chicago, a professor from Boston, a journalist from Atlanta. The journalist's eyes lit up when she heard the story. This is going to be national news, she said. A billionaire's daughter takes down a racist flight attendant at 37,000 feet. Every outlet in the country is going to want this story. Zara looked at her carefully. My father will decide what gets reported. Of course. But he should know that stories like this matter. They change things. They make airlines accountable. I'll tell him. Marcus spoke through the phone. I heard that. Ms. Richardson, Dana Richardson, Atlanta Tribune. Ms. Richardson, I'll have my communications team contact you when we're ready to discuss this publicly. But right now, my priority is my daughter's safety and well-being. Understood, Mr. Williams? Whenever you're ready. The captain's voice came over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we're beginning our descent into JFK. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. Zara returned to her seat. She fastened her belt. She held her phone to her ear. Daddy, we're landing soon. I know, baby. Your grandmother is already at the gate. There are also 2 Continental American executives waiting to meet you. And security. Security. They're going to escort Patricia Henderson off the plane. I want to make sure you don't have to see her again. I'm not afraid of her, Daddy. Marcus's voice softened. I know you're not, but you've been brave enough for one day. Let the adults handle the rest. Okay. Zara. Yes, Daddy. Your mother would be so proud of you. So proud. Zara felt tears prick her eyes for the first time all day. I miss her. I know, baby. I miss her too, but she's watching, and she's proud. How do you know? Because I'm proud, and your mother and I always felt the same way about you. The plane touched down at JFK at 2:14 p.m. Eastern Time. As it taxied to the gate, passengers gathered their belongings in unusual silence. There was a weight in the cabin now, a heaviness. Everyone understood they had witnessed something that would change things. David Chen caught Zara's eye as he stood up. Thank you, he mouthed silently. She nodded. The Johnsons stopped by her seat as they moved toward the exit. You're an extraordinary young woman, Aisha said. Don't ever let anyone tell you different. I won't. Robert Mitchell was last. He knelt down beside her seat. "I've met presidents and kings and billionaires, and you know what? You're more impressive than all of them." Zara looked at him seriously. "I'm just a kid who did what was right." "That's exactly what makes you impressive. Most adults never figure that out." The cabin doors opened. 2 men in dark suits stepped aboard. They walked past the passengers without stopping and headed straight for the galley. "Patricia Henderson." Patricia emerged. Her face was swollen and blotched from crying. Her uniform was disheveled. She looked like a woman who had aged 10 years in 3 hours. "Yes, come with us, please." She didn't resist, didn't protest. She simply walked between them down the aisle past all the passengers she had mistreated, past Zara still sitting in her seat. For a moment, their eyes met. Patricia opened her mouth like she wanted to say something. Then she closed it and kept walking. The jetway swallowed her, and she was gone. A woman in her 70s appeared in the cabin doorway, silver hair in elegant twists, purple dress the exact shade of Zara's, regal bearing that commanded immediate respect. Eleanor Williams had been the first black female U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. She had stood before world leaders and spoken truth to power. She had faced down dictators and diplomats and never blinked. But right now she was just a grandmother looking for her granddaughter. "Zara." Zara flew out of her seat and into her grandmother's arms. "Grandma." Eleanor held her tight, rocking her gently, tears streaming down her face. "My brave, brave girl, my beautiful, brave girl. I did what Daddy taught me. I know you did, and I am so proud of you." They stood there in the aisle, grandmother and granddaughter, while the remaining passengers filed past them. Some nodded respectfully. Others reached out to touch Zara's shoulder briefly. One woman whispered, "Thank you," as she passed. Finally, Eleanor pulled back and cupped Zara's face in her hands. "Let's go home. I made your favorite, jollof rice and plantains. With extra pepper. Would I make it any other way?" They walked off the plane together, hand in hand. Behind them, the first-class cabin stood empty. But the weight of what had happened there remained. In the air, in the seats, in the memory of every person who had witnessed an 8-year-old girl stand up against 20 years of discrimination and win. In the terminal, a cluster of people waited. Airline executives with worried faces, PR representatives with phones pressed to their ears, lawyers with briefcases, and in the middle of them all, a video screen showing a breaking news alert. Billionaire's daughter confronts racist flight attendant at 37,000 feet. The story had already leaked. Someone on the plane had posted something. The journalist, maybe, or one of the passengers with a phone. It didn't matter. The world was already watching. Eleanor squeezed Zara's hand. "Are you ready for this?" Zara looked at the crowd, the cameras, the chaos. "Daddy says power means responsibility, having the ability to make things right and choosing to do it." "That's right. Then yes, I'm ready." They walked into the storm together, and Zara Williams, 8 years old, with gold beads in her braids and fire in her eyes, didn't look back once. The airline executives moved toward them before Eleanor and Zara had taken 10 steps into the terminal. "Mrs. Williams, I'm Gregory Thornton, Senior Vice President of Customer Relations for Continental American Airways." Eleanor's expression didn't change. "I know who you are, Mr. Thornton. We met at the UN Aviation Summit in 2019. Thornton's face paled. He clearly hadn't recognized her until now. "Ambassador Williams, I didn't realize that the grandmother of the child your employee assaulted was a former United States ambassador? No, I imagine you didn't. Ma'am, I want to assure you that Continental American takes this matter extremely seriously. We've already terminated Miss Henderson's employment, and we're prepared to offer a full—" "Stop talking." Thornton stopped. Eleanor's voice was ice. "You're not going to offer me anything in this terminal. You're not going to make statements. You're not going to try to manage this situation. What you're going to do is escort my granddaughter and me to a private room where we can wait for her father to arrive. Her father is coming. His jet left Houston 45 minutes ago. He'll be here within the hour." Thornton's face went from pale to gray. "Of course, right this way." They followed him through the terminal past the news cameras that had already gathered past the travelers who had stopped to stare at the commotion. A reporter broke through the crowd. Zara Williams, can you tell us what happened on the plane?" Eleanor stepped in front of her granddaughter. "No comment, not now." "Ambassador Williams, is it true your granddaughter recorded the incident?" "I said no comment." Security appeared and pushed the reporters back. Thornton led them through a side door and down a hallway to a private lounge. "Can I get you anything?" he asked. "Water, food." "Privacy," Eleanor said. "Close the door on your way out." Thornton hesitated like he wanted to say something else. Then he thought better of it and left. The moment the door closed, Eleanor knelt down in front of Zara. "How are you really doing, baby?" Zara's composure cracked for the first time since leaving the plane. "She grabbed me, Grandma. She put her hands on me and pushed me." "I know. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just standing in the aisle." "I know, baby." "Why did she hate me so much? She doesn't even know me." Eleanor pulled her granddaughter close. "She doesn't hate you. She hates what she thinks you represent. She hates people who look like us being in spaces she thinks belong to people who look like her. It's ugly and it's wrong, but it has nothing to do with who you actually are." "Daddy says I'm supposed to stay calm, document everything. But when she grabbed me, I wanted to scream." "Did you scream?" "No." "Then you did exactly what you were supposed to do. Feeling angry doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human." Zara pulled back and wiped her eyes. "I'm tired, Grandma." "I know you are, but your daddy's coming. And when he gets here, you can rest." At 3:47 p.m., the door to the private lounge opened, and Marcus Williams walked in. He'd made the flight from Houston in just over an hour. Private jet, no stops. His pilot had pushed the engines to their limits. "Daddy!" Zara ran to him, and he caught her, lifting her off the ground and holding her tight against his chest. "I'm here, baby. I'm here. She grabbed me. She pushed me." "I know. I listened to everything, and she's never going to hurt anyone ever again." He set her down and knelt to look at her face. "Are you hurt? Did she leave any marks?" Zara held out her arm. There was a faint red mark where Patricia's fingers had gripped her. Marcus's jaw tightened. His eyes went dark. "That's assault. Criminal assault on a minor." Eleanor stepped forward. "Marcus, before you do anything, I'm going to destroy her." "Marcus." "Not just fire her, destroy her. I want her charged. I want her prosecuted. I want her face on every news network in the country so that no one ever forgets what she did." "Marcus, listen to me." He turned to his mother. Your daughter is exhausted. She's been through a trauma. She needs to go home and rest, not watch her father wage war in an airport terminal." Marcus looked at Zara, really looked at her, saw the fatigue in her eyes, the way her shoulders slumped, the little girl hiding beneath the brave face she'd been wearing all day. He took a breath, then another. You're right. He pulled Zara close again. "We're going home. Everything else can wait." But everything else wasn't willing to wait. A knock came at the door. "Mr. Williams, it's Gregory Thornton. Mr. Calloway has arrived from Atlanta. He's requesting a meeting." Marcus looked at his mother, then at his daughter. "Zara, do you want to go home with Grandma? I can handle this." Zara shook her head. "I want to stay. I want to see what happens." "Are you sure?" "You always say power means being in the room where decisions are made. I want to be in the room." Marcus smiled, despite everything. His daughter was so much like her mother. "Okay, but if it gets to be too much, you tell me and we leave immediately." "I will." He opened the door. "Send him in." James Calloway entered the room looking like a man who hadn't slept in days, even though it had only been hours. He was accompanied by 2 lawyers and a woman from the PR department. "Mr. Williams, Ambassador Williams." He nodded to each of them. "And Zara, I'm so deeply sorry for what you experienced today." Zara looked at him with those steady, knowing eyes. "Are you sorry it happened, or are you sorry you got caught?" Calloway blinked. The lawyers shifted uncomfortably. "I'm sorry it happened, truly. What Miss Henderson did was inexcusable and doesn't represent the values of this airline. Your airline had 47 complaints about her in 20 years, Marcus said. 47, and you did nothing. Those complaints were handled by local management. They never reached executive level. That's your excuse that you didn't know. It's not an excuse, it's a failure. A systematic failure that I take full responsibility for. Words, Marcus said. Those are just words. What are you actually going to do? Calloway straightened his shoulders. First, we've terminated Patricia Henderson effective immediately. She will not work for this airline or any airline we have partnership agreements with ever again. That's the minimum. What else? We're implementing mandatory anti-bias training for all flight attendants, gate agents, and customer service personnel. 8 hours of intensive training with quarterly refreshers. Training that should have happened 20 years ago. Yes, it should have. What else? We're creating a new reporting system for discrimination complaints. Direct line to the executive office. Every complaint will be reviewed by senior leadership personally. Marcus leaned forward. And what about the 47 people who complained before, the ones who were ignored, dismissed, made to feel like they were the problem? Calloway paused. This was clearly something he hadn't prepared for. We're reaching out to every one of them, offering apologies and compensation. How much compensation? We were thinking a travel voucher. A travel voucher, Marcus laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. Someone experiences racism on your airline and you think a free flight makes it right. What would you suggest? Cash, significant cash, enough to actually mean something, and a personal letter of apology from you, signed on letterhead. Calloway looked at his lawyers. They whispered briefly. We can do that. Good. Now let's talk about my daughter. Eleanor put her hand on Marcus's arm. Marcus, maybe Zara shouldn't be here for this part. No. Zara's voice was firm. I want to hear. Marcus looked at her, then nodded. Go ahead, Calloway. What are you offering my daughter? We'd like to offer a formal apology, a lifetime platinum membership in our frequent flyer program, and a settlement for her pain and suffering. How much? Calloway named a figure. Marcus laughed again. My daughter was physically assaulted by one of your employees. She was discriminated against because of her race. She was told first class wasn't for people like her, and you're offering me pocket change. It's a substantial sum. It's nothing compared to the damage you've done. What do you want, Mr. Williams? Just tell me what you want, and we'll make it happen. The room went quiet. Everyone waited for Marcus to name his price, to demand some astronomical figure that would make headlines, but it was Zara who spoke. I don't want money. Everyone turned to look at her. What do you want, sweetheart? Calloway asked carefully. Zara stepped forward, 8 years old, small for her age, but somehow commanding the attention of every adult in the room. I want you to promise that what happened to me will never happen to any other kid, ever. Calloway knelt down to her level. I promise we'll do everything in our power. Not everything in your power. Promise me it won't happen. Promise me that no other little girl will ever be grabbed and pushed and told she doesn't belong. Promise me that no other family will have their honeymoon ruined. Promise me that no one will ever have to sit in the dark because someone decided their skin color meant they didn't deserve a lamp. Her voice didn't waver. Her eyes didn't blink. Can you promise me that? Calloway was silent for a long moment. I can't promise perfection. Bias is everywhere, but I can promise that when it happens, and it will happen, we will take action. Immediately, every single time. No more 47 ignored complaints. No more sweeping things under the rug. Real consequences for real discrimination. Put it in writing. Calloway looked up at Marcus, surprised. She's right, Marcus said. Put it in writing. Create a policy. Name it after her if you want. The Zara Williams Zero Tolerance Policy. Make it part of your training. Make it part of your culture. Make it impossible to ignore. We can do that. And one more thing. Yes, I want my daughter to have input on the training materials. I want her story told, not for publicity, for prevention. I want every flight attendant in this airline to know what happened today and understand that it can never happen again. Calloway stood up. Done. All of it. Done. He reached out his hand. Marcus didn't take it immediately. I'm going to hold you to this, James. If I hear even a whisper that this airline is backsliding, I pull every contract we have. $280 million a year. Gone. And I take my business to your competitors and tell them exactly why. I understand. Do you? Because I don't make empty threats. Ask anyone who's ever crossed me. I believe you, Mr. Williams. Marcus finally shook his hand. Good. Now get out. I'm taking my daughter home. Calloway and his team left quickly. When the door closed, Eleanor let out a breath. Well, that was something. Marcus knelt down in front of Zara. You know what you did in there. What? You changed company policy. At 8 years old. You made a CEO of a major airline commit to systemic change, not because of my money or my power, because of your words, your courage, your moral clarity. Zara looked down. I just said what I felt. That's exactly what makes you dangerous. Never lose that. Promise me. I promise, Daddy. He picked her up even though she was getting too big to be carried. Let's go home, baby. Grandma made jollof rice. With extra pepper. Would she make it any other way? They walked out of the private lounge together. The press was still waiting, but security had created a path. As they moved through the terminal, Zara looked back once. She saw the gate where flight CA-447 had arrived. The plane was still there being cleaned and prepared for its next flight. Somewhere in this airport, Patricia Henderson was probably filling out paperwork, turning in her badge, realizing that her life would never be the same. Zara felt something complicated in her chest. Not satisfaction exactly, not pity either, something in between. Daddy. Yes, baby. What's going to happen to her, Miss Henderson? Marcus was quiet for a moment. She's going to face consequences, real ones. But beyond that, I don't know. That's up to her. Will she change? Some people do, some people don't. The important thing is that she won't be able to hurt anyone else the way she hurt you. But what if she's sorry? Really sorry? Marcus stopped walking. He set Zara down and looked at her seriously. Being sorry doesn't undo what she did. Being sorry doesn't give the Johnsons their honeymoon back. Being sorry doesn't take away the anger Mr. Chen felt sitting in the dark. Being sorry doesn't erase the bruise on your arm. So sorry doesn't matter. Sorry matters, but it's not enough. Actions matter more. If Patricia Henderson is really sorry, she'll spend the rest of her life proving it. Not with words, with choices. Zara nodded slowly. I hope she proves it. You're a better person than me, baby girl. I hope she rots. Eleanor swatted his arm. Marcus. What, I'm being honest. Maybe save the vengeful honesty for when your daughter isn't listening. She should know that feeling angry is okay, that wanting justice is okay, that hoping someone faces consequences for hurting you is human. Eleanor sighed. He's impossible. Zara smiled, the first real smile since she'd left Houston that morning. I know, but he's my daddy. They walked out of the airport into the New York afternoon. A car was waiting for them as they drove toward Eleanor's brownstone in Harlem. Zara looked out the window at the city streaming past. She thought about everything that had happened. The flight, the discrimination, the confrontation, the calls, the apologies, the promises. She thought about Patricia Henderson's face when she realized who Zara's father was. She thought about David Chen nodding at her as he left the plane. She thought about the Johnsons holding hands, their faith in something restored. She thought about Robert Mitchell and his promise to speak up next time. She thought about her mother, who wasn't here to see any of this, but who somehow felt present anyway. Daddy, yes, baby, I think Mama helped me today. Marcus's hand found hers in the back seat. I think so too. I could feel her when I was scared, when I didn't know if I was doing the right thing. I felt her telling me to be brave. Oh, that sounds exactly like her. Do you think she's proud of me? Marcus squeezed her hand. Baby girl, Your mother is the proudest soul in heaven right now. And so am I. The car drove on through the city, and Zara Williams, 8 years old with gold beads in her braids and her father's hand in hers, finally let herself close her eyes and rest. She'd done what she needed to do. The rest could wait. 3 days after the flight, the story exploded. Dana Richardson's article in the Atlanta Tribune went live at 6 a.m. Eastern. By noon, it had been shared 2 million times. By evening, every major news network in America was running the story. Billionaire's 8-year-old daughter takes down racist flight attendant at 37,000 feet. The video Zara had recorded played on every screen. Patricia Henderson's tearful confession, her admission of racism, her apology to each passenger she had wronged. Marcus Williams watched the coverage from Eleanor's living room while Zara ate breakfast in the kitchen. "It's everywhere," Eleanor said, sitting down beside him. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, even international outlets are picking it up. "Good. Let them see." "Marcus, have you thought about what this means for Zara? She's going to be recognized everywhere she goes." She was already the daughter of a billionaire. She was never going to have a normal life. There's a difference between being wealthy and being famous for confronting racism at 8 years old. Marcus turned off the television. "What do you want me to do? Mama bury the story. Pretend it didn't happen. Zara did something extraordinary. The world should know. I want you to think about her. Not the message, not the movement. Her." Before Marcus could respond, his phone rang. He looked at the screen. An unknown number. "Williams." "Mr. Williams, this is Detective Sarah Chen with the NYPD. We need to discuss the assault on your daughter." Marcus sat up straighter. "I'm listening." "We've reviewed the video evidence. We've taken statements from multiple witnesses. The district attorney's office wants to press charges against Patricia Henderson." "What charges?" "Assault on a minor, 3rd degree. It's a misdemeanor, but it carries potential jail time." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Do it." "Sir, I should warn you. If we proceed, your daughter may need to testify. It could mean more media attention, more scrutiny." "I understand." "And there's something else. Patricia Henderson's lawyer has reached out. She wants to meet with you." "Why would I meet with her?" "She says her client wants to apologize, personally, face to face." Marcus laughed bitterly. "She apologized on the plane, on video, in front of a cabin full of witnesses. Her lawyer says it's different. She wants your daughter to hear something she couldn't say in front of everyone else." "Absolutely not. I'm not putting Zara through that." "That's your right, sir. We'll proceed with charges regardless." "Good. Keep me informed." He hung up. Eleanor was watching him. "Patricia Henderson wants to apologize again, personally." "What did you say?" "I said no, obviously. Maybe you should ask Zara what she wants." "She's 8 years old." "She's 8 years old, and she single-handedly dismantled a 20-year career and changed company policy at a major airline. I think she can handle deciding whether to accept an apology." Marcus stared at his mother. "When did you become the reasonable one?" "I've always been the reasonable one. You just never listened." That afternoon, Marcus sat down with Zara in Eleanor's study. "Baby, I need to talk to you about something." Zara looked up from the book she was reading. "Is it about Miss Henderson?" "How did you know?" "I heard you talking to Grandma. The walls aren't that thick." Marcus smiled despite himself. "You're too smart for your own good." "You always say that. What did she want?" "She wants to apologize to you, in person." Zara was quiet for a long moment. "Do you want me to say no?" "I want you to say whatever you actually feel, not what you think I want to hear." Zara closed her book. "I've been thinking about her. Miss Henderson, about what you said in the car." "What part?" "The part about being sorry not being enough, about actions mattering more than words." "I remember." "If she wants to apologize again, maybe that's an action. Maybe she's trying to prove she's really sorry. Not just sorry she got caught." Marcus studied his daughter's face. You want to meet with her? I don't know if I want to, but I think maybe I should. Why? Zara thought carefully before answering. Because Mama always said that forgiveness isn't for the other person. It's for yourself. It's letting go of the weight so you can move forward. And Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. Your mother said that all the time, especially when she was sick. She said she had to forgive God for taking her away from us, or she'd spend her last days angry instead of loving. Marcus pulled his daughter close. When did you grow up so much? I don't know. Somewhere between Houston and New York, I guess. He held her for a long moment, then pulled back. Okay, if you want to meet her, we'll set it up, but I'm going to be right there with you. And if at any point you want to leave, we leave. No questions asked. Okay, Daddy. And Zara, yes, I'm proud of you for even considering this. Most adults wouldn't. Most adults haven't had you as a father. The meeting was arranged for the following day at a neutral location, a conference room at a Manhattan law office. Patricia Henderson arrived first with her lawyer. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her hands shook constantly. She'd aged 10 years in less than a week. When Marcus and Zara walked in, Patricia stood up immediately. Thank you for coming. I know you didn't have to. Marcus didn't respond. He guided Zara to a chair across the table and sat down beside her. You have 10 minutes, he said. Make them count. Patricia nodded. She looked at Zara with eyes full of something complicated. I've been trying to figure out what to say to you for 3 days. I've written speeches, practiced in the mirror, but none of it felt right. She took a shaky breath. The truth is, I don't have the words to explain what I did, because there is no explanation. There's no justification. I grabbed a child, I pushed her, I told her she didn't belong, and I did it because of the color of her skin. Zara listened without expression. I've been telling myself for 20 years that I wasn't racist, that I was just professional, that I had standards. But that was a lie, a comfortable lie that let me treat people badly without feeling guilty about it. Patricia's voice cracked. Your father pulled my file. 47 complaints. 47 times someone tried to tell the airline that I was discriminating against them. And 47 times the airline believed me over them. She wiped her eyes. I told myself those people were wrong, that they were too sensitive, that they were looking for problems where there weren't any. But they weren't wrong. I was wrong. Every single time. Marcus leaned forward. Why are you telling us this? You already admitted it on the plane. Because on the plane I was scared. I was trying to save my job. I was saying what I thought I needed to say to make you stop. She looked directly at Zara. But now I'm not trying to save anything. My job is gone. My reputation is destroyed. My face is all over the internet as a racist flight attendant. I have nothing left to protect. Then why are we here? Because I needed your daughter to know that what she did changed me, not just my circumstances. Me. Zara spoke for the first time. What do you mean? Patricia leaned forward. For 3 days I've been getting messages, hundreds of them. Thousands. Some are hateful, people calling me names, sending death threats, saying I deserve to die. She paused. But some are different. Some are from people like me. People who grew up the way I did, who developed the same biases without even realizing it, who've been treating people badly their whole lives and never stopped to question why. What are they saying? They're saying thank you. They're saying that watching my video, seeing me admit what I did, made them look at themselves, made them ask questions they'd never asked before. Patricia's tears fell freely now. A woman wrote to me yesterday. She said she's a teacher, 3rd grade. She realized after watching the video that she'd been treating her black students differently than her white students, calling on them less, grading them harder, assuming they'd be troublemakers. She said she's going to change. One person, Marcus said skeptically. There are more. Dozens of stories like that. People who watched what happened to me and decided they didn't want to become me. She looked at Zara. You didn't just end my career. You started something. A conversation that needed to happen. And I know it cost me everything. but maybe that's what needed to happen for people to finally pay attention. Zara was quiet for a long moment. "Do you hate me?" Patricia looked startled. "What? Do you hate me for what happened to you?" "No, God, no. I hate myself for what I did to you, what I did to all those passengers over all those years. You just held up a mirror. The ugliness was already there." "But your life is ruined." "My life is different." "Maybe it needed to be ruined for me to rebuild it into something better." Marcus checked his watch. "Time's up." "Wait." Patricia reached into her bag. "I have something, for Zara, if that's okay." Marcus tensed. "What is it?" Patricia pulled out an envelope, placed it on the table. "It's a letter from my mother. She's 83 years old. She watched the video. She called me crying. Why would your mother write to my daughter? Because my mother was a maid in Mississippi in the 1960s. She cleaned houses for white families who treated her like she was invisible, who called her names I can't repeat, who made her use the back door and drink from separate cups." Patricia's voice broke. She wrote to Zara because she said watching her stand up reminded her of herself, of all the times she wanted to speak up but couldn't, of all the dignity she had to swallow just to survive. She pushed the envelope toward Zara. She wanted Zara to know that what she did mattered, that it meant something to someone who spent her whole life being told she didn't matter. Zara reached for the envelope. Marcus didn't stop her. She opened it carefully and read silently. Her eyes moved across the page slowly. When she finished, there were tears on her cheeks. "She says I gave her hope," Zara whispered. "She says she's going to die soon, and she's glad she lived long enough to see this." Patricia nodded, crying too. "My mother never forgave the people who hurt her. She carried that weight her whole life, but she's asking you to do what she couldn't, to forgive me, so that you don't have to carry any weight at all." Zara looked at the letter for a long time. Then she looked at Patricia. "I forgive you." 3 words, simple, quiet, but they landed like thunder. Patricia collapsed forward onto the table, sobbing. "Thank you. Thank you. I don't deserve it, but thank you." Marcus put his hand on Zara's shoulder. "Baby, are you sure?" Zara nodded. "Mama said forgiveness isn't for them, it's for us. And I don't want to be angry anymore, Daddy. I just want to be me." They left the law office 20 minutes later. In the car, Marcus was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "I couldn't have done what you did in there." "Done what?" "Forgiven her. I'm not built that way. When someone hurts the people I love, I want to hurt them back. Forever." "That sounds exhausting," Marcus laughed, a real laugh this time. "It is. It's extremely exhausting. Your mother used to tell me I was going to give myself a heart attack with all my grudges. She was probably right. She was always right. That was the annoying thing about her." Zara smiled. "Daddy." "Yes, baby." "Do you think Miss Henderson will really change?" "I don't know. Some people do. Some people don't. But you don't believe she will?" "I believe she wants to. Whether she can is a different question. Changing who you are is hard. Most people fail. That's sad." "It is, but it's also honest, and I'd rather you know the truth than believe a comfortable lie." Zara thought about that. "I'm going to choose to believe she'll change." "Why?" "Because if I believe people can't change, then what's the point of anything? Why speak up? Why fight? Why try to make things better if everyone's just going to stay the same?" Marcus looked at his daughter with something like awe. "You know what your problem is?" "What?" "You're smarter than me, and you're only 8. By the time you're my age, you're going to be running the world." "Maybe I will." "I don't doubt it for a second." That evening, Marcus got another call, this time from James Calloway. "Mr. Williams, I wanted to update you on our progress." "I'm listening." "We've completed outreach to all 47 passengers who filed previous complaints about Patricia Henderson. All of them. We've offered personal apologies and financial settlements." "How many accepted?" 43 so far. The other 4 are considering. We've also implemented the Zara Williams zero tolerance policy. It goes into effect across all flights starting next Monday. That's fast. We're motivated. Your daughter's story has been good for us, believe it or not. Bookings are up. People want to fly with an airline that takes discrimination seriously. Don't turn my daughter's trauma into a marketing opportunity. I wouldn't dream of it. But I thought you should know that change is happening, real change, because of what she did. Marcus was quiet. Thank you for telling me. And one more thing. We'd like to invite Zara to speak at our annual employee conference. Share her story with our entire workforce. Help them understand why this matters. I'll ask her, but the decision is hers. Of course. Have a good evening, Mr. Williams. You too. He hung up and found Zara in the kitchen with Eleanor helping her grandmother wash dishes. That was the airline, he said. They want you to speak at their employee conference. Zara looked up soap suds on her hands. Speak about what? About what happened, about why it matters, about how they can do better. In front of how many people? Thousands, maybe tens of thousands if they live stream it. Zara was quiet for a moment. Can I think about it? Of course. Take all the time you need. Eleanor handed Zara a towel to dry her hands. Whatever you decide, we're proud of you. I know, Grandma. And whatever you decide, jollof rice is ready. With extra pepper. Would I make it any other way? They sat down to dinner together. 3 generations of the Williams family, bound by love and loss, and something new that had emerged from the ashes of a terrible day. Hope. Real hope. The kind that doesn't ignore the darkness, but chooses to believe in light anyway. Zara ate her grandmother's jollof rice and listened to her father and grandmother argue about politics and felt something settle in her chest. Peace. For the first time since Houston, she felt at peace. She didn't know what would come next, whether Patricia Henderson would really change, whether the airline would keep its promises, whether the world would remember this story or forget it like everything else. But she knew one thing for certain. She had done what was right. And that would be enough. It would always be enough. 6 months later, Zara Williams stood backstage at the Continental American Airways annual conference in Atlanta. 20,000 employees waited in the audience. Another 50,000 watched via live stream across the country. Her face was projected on screens the size of buildings. Marcus stood beside her, adjusting her microphone. You don't have to do this. I know. We can leave right now. No one will blame you. I know, Daddy. Are you scared? Zara looked at him with those steady eyes that had faced down Patricia Henderson at 37,000 feet. A little, but you always say brave people do it anyway. Marcus kissed her forehead. Your mother would be so proud. I know, I can feel her. The stage manager appeared. Miss Williams, they're ready for you. Zara took a deep breath. Then she walked out onto that stage alone. The applause was deafening. 20,000 people on their feet, clapping, cheering, some crying. Zara walked to the podium. She had to stand on a special platform just to reach the microphone. She waited for the applause to die down. Then she spoke. My name is Zara Williams. I'm 8 years old, and 6 months ago, I was grabbed, pushed, and told that first class wasn't for people like me. The auditorium went silent. The woman who did that to me worked for this company for 20 years. She had 47 complaints against her before I ever got on that plane. 47 people tried to tell you something was wrong, and 47 times no one listened. She paused. I'm not here to make you feel guilty. Guilt doesn't change anything. I'm here because I want you to understand something. She looked out at the sea of faces. Every single one of you has power, more power than you realize. The power to make someone feel welcome or unwelcome, safe or unsafe, human or less than human. Her voice was clear and strong. When you check a boarding pass, you're not just doing a job. You're telling that person whether they belong. When you serve a meal, you're not just delivering food. You're showing that person whether they matter. When someone needs help, your response tells them everything about who you really are. She gripped the podium. I was lucky. I had a father who taught me to speak up. I had a phone that could reach people with power. I had witnesses who eventually found their courage. Her voice dropped. But what about the people who don't have those things? What about the little girl whose father isn't a billionaire? What about the couple on their honeymoon who can't afford to make waves? What about the businessman who's been swallowing his dignity for so long, he's forgotten he has any... Tears were flowing in the audience now. Those people are on your planes every single day. And every single day you get to choose. Are you going to be the person who makes them feel small, or are you going to be the person who reminds them they matter? She stepped back from the podium. I forgave Patricia Henderson, not because she deserved it, but because I didn't want to carry the weight of hating her. But forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences. It doesn't mean what she did was okay. It means I chose to let go of the anger so I could move forward. She looked directly into the camera that was broadcasting to 50,000 employees across the country. I'm asking you to do something harder than forgiveness. I'm asking you to look at yourselves. Really look. Ask yourself if you've ever treated someone differently because of how they looked. Ask yourself if you've ever made assumptions about who belongs and who doesn't. She paused. And if the answer is yes, don't beat yourself up. Don't drown in guilt. Just do better. Starting today. Starting with the very next person you meet. She picked up a piece of paper from the podium. My grandmother gave me this quote before I came here today. It's from Maya Angelou. She said, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better." Zara set the paper down. Now you know better, so do better. She walked off the stage. The applause that followed her was different from the applause that had greeted her. It was quieter, more thoughtful. The sound of 20,000 people being changed. Backstage, Marcus caught her in his arms. You were incredible. I was terrified. It didn't show. Good. That was the goal. Eleanor was waiting with tears streaming down her face. My brave, brave girl. I did what Mama would have done. You did what only you could have done. Don't give anyone else credit for your courage. James Calloway approached them, visibly moved. Miss Williams, I don't have words. That was the most powerful speech I've ever heard at one of these conferences. Thank you. I mean it. You changed people today. I could see it in their faces. I hope so. I know so. He shook Marcus's hand. Your daughter is extraordinary. I'm aware. If there's anything Continental American can ever do for your family, please don't hesitate to ask. Keep your promises, that's all I ask. We will. You have my word. The next morning, Marcus's phone rang at 6 a.m. Williams? Mr. Williams, this is Detective Chen. I have an update on the Patricia Henderson case. Marcus sat up in bed. What is it? She's taken a plea deal. Guilty to assault in the 3rd degree. She'll serve 6 months of community service and pay a fine. That's it. 6 months of community service. It's actually more than we usually get in cases like this. Your daughter's testimony was compelling. The video evidence was damning. The DA pushed hard. Marcus was quiet. There's something else. She's requested permission to write to your daughter. The court wanted to know if you'd allow it. Absolutely not. I told them you'd say that, but I wanted to ask. She's already apologized. She doesn't get unlimited access to my child's peace of mind. Understood. I'll let them know. Marcus hung up and sat in the darkness. 6 months of community service. That was the price for putting her hands on his daughter. For 20 years of discrimination. For 47 ignored complaints. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. It was more than most people got. It was accountability, even if imperfect. He got up and went to check on Zara. She was already awake, sitting by the window. Couldn't sleep. Too much thinking. About what? About yesterday. About all those people. About whether anything will really change. Marcus sat down beside her. Some things will change. Not everything. Not everyone. But some. How do you know? Because I saw their faces when you spoke. I saw people crying who've probably never cried at a work conference in their lives. I saw people looking at themselves maybe for the first time. But looking isn't the same as changing. No, it's not. But it's the first step. You can't change what you're not willing to see. Zara leaned against him. Daddy. Yes, baby. Do you think Mama would be proud of me? I don't think. I know. How do you know? Because she told me. Zara looked up at him. What do you mean? Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a letter. The paper was worn, the creases deep. He'd clearly read it many times. Your mother wrote this before she died. She made me promise not to give it to you until you were ready. Zara's hands trembled as she took it. How did you know I was ready? I didn't. But after watching you yesterday, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. Zara unfolded the letter carefully. Her mother's handwriting, shaky near the end, but still beautiful. My dearest Zara, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and your father has decided you're ready for these words. I trust his judgment, even from wherever I am now. I want you to know that I'm not sad about dying. I'm sad about missing you, missing who you'll become, missing all the moments I won't be there for. But here's what I know, baby girl. You're going to be extraordinary. Not because of your father's money or your grandmother's name. Because of who you are. Because of the fire inside you that I've seen since you were born. The world is going to try to make you small. People are going to tell you that you don't belong. They're going to question your presence in spaces they think are theirs. Don't let them. Stand up. Speak out. Be brave even when you're scared, especially when you're scared. And remember this always. You deserve respect. You deserve dignity. You deserve to take up space in any room you enter. Never apologize for existing. Never shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Never let anyone make you feel like you don't matter. Because you matter, Zara. To me, to your father, to the world that doesn't know yet how lucky it is to have you. I love you beyond words, beyond death, beyond everything. Forever. Mama Zara was sobbing by the time she finished. Marcus held her as she cried. His own tears fell silently into her hair. She knew, Zara whispered. She knew what was going to happen. She didn't know the specifics, but she knew you. She knew what you were capable of. I wish she was here. Me too, baby. Every single day. They sat together in the early morning light, holding each other, holding grief, holding love that death couldn't touch. 1 year later, Zara Williams stood at the podium of the United Nations General Assembly, 9 years old now, taller, but those same steady eyes, those same gold beads in her braids. She'd been invited to speak at a special session on discrimination in public transportation. Representatives from 193 countries watched her. Her grandmother Eleanor sat in the audience beaming with pride. The former ambassador returned to the hall where she'd once represented her country. Marcus sat beside his mother, his hand over his heart. Distinguished delegates, Zara began. My name is Zara Williams. I'm 9 years old, and I'm here to tell you that the future is watching. She told her story. The flight. Patricia Henderson. The confrontation. The aftermath. But she didn't stop there. Since that day, I've received over 100,000 messages from children around the world, children who've experienced what I experienced, children who've been told they don't belong, children who've been made to feel small because of how they look or where they're from. She held up a stack of letters. These are just some of them. From India, from Brazil, from Nigeria, from Japan, from France, from countries you might think don't have these problems. She set the letters down. Discrimination is everywhere. It doesn't respect borders. It doesn't care about wealth or status. It finds its way into airplanes and classrooms and hospitals and homes. Her voice grew stronger. But so does courage. So does resistance. So does the simple, powerful act of saying, no, this is wrong and I won't accept it. She looked at the assembled delegates. You have the power to change laws, to change policies, to change the systems that allow discrimination to flourish. I'm asking you to use that power. She paused. Not for me. I'm just one child, but for all the children who don't have a billionaire father, who don't have a former ambassador grandmother, who don't have a platform or a voice or anyone listening. Her final words rang through the chamber. Be their voice, be their platform, be the change they need but can't make themselves. She stepped back from the podium. The applause lasted 7 minutes. That night, Marcus took Zara to visit her mother's grave. They stood together in the quiet cemetery, the Manhattan skyline glittering in the distance. I wish she could have seen today, Zara said. She did. You believe that. I know it. Zara knelt down and placed a single white rose on the headstone. Hi, Mama. It's me. I did what you said. I stood up. I spoke out. I didn't let them make me small. She traced her mother's name with her finger. I miss you. Every day, but I feel you with me, especially when I'm scared, especially when I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. She stood up. Thank you for the letter. It helped. More than you know. Marcus put his arm around his daughter. Ready to go home. Almost. Zara looked at the headstone one more time. One more thing, Mama. I made a decision today. I'm going to start a foundation, the Amara Williams Foundation, named after you. It's going to help children who face discrimination, give them resources, give them a voice, give them the power to fight back. She smiled through her tears. Daddy's going to fund it, Grandma's going to chair it, but it's going to be yours, your legacy, your gift to all the children who need it. She kissed her fingers and pressed them to the cold stone. I love you, Mama. Forever. They walked back to the car in silence. As they drove through the Manhattan night, Marcus looked at his daughter. The Amara Williams Foundation. When did you decide that, during my speech, when I was looking at all those faces, I realized that speaking isn't enough? People need help, real help, and we have the resources to give it. How much are you thinking? All of it. All of what? My inheritance. Whatever I would have gotten from you. I want to give it away, all of it, to the foundation. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. That's billions of dollars. I know. You'd be giving up a fortune. I'd be gaining something better, purpose. Marcus shook his head slowly. Your mother said you'd be extraordinary. She didn't say you'd make me look greedy by comparison. You're not greedy, Daddy. You're generous. You taught me to be generous. I taught you to be smart with money. This is smart. What's smarter than investing in the future? Marcus couldn't argue with that. Okay. The Amara Williams Foundation. We'll start the paperwork tomorrow. Thank you, Daddy. Don't thank me. It's your money. Your choice. But you didn't try to stop me. I learned something from you last year. When someone stands up for what's right, you don't get in their way. You get behind them. Zara smiled. You're learning. I have a good teacher. They rode the rest of the way in comfortable silence. 2 years later. The Amara Williams Foundation had helped over 50,000 children worldwide, funded anti-discrimination programs in 30 countries, trained teachers and flight attendants and police officers and doctors. Patricia Henderson worked there. It had been Zara's idea. After completing her community service, Patricia had written again, asking what she could do to make amends. Zara had suggested volunteering with the foundation. That volunteering had turned into a full-time job. Patricia now led the foundation's training programs traveling the country to share her story. The racist flight attendant who became an anti-racism educator. It wasn't redemption. Zara was careful about that word, but it was something. Something better than prison, something more useful than punishment. Change. Real change. The kind that didn't ignore the past, but built something better from its ashes. On the second anniversary of Flight CA-447, Zara returned to JFK Airport. She walked through the terminal where she'd been escorted by security. Past the gate where her grandmother had been waiting. Past the conference room where she'd met with James Calloway. She stopped at gate C-12. A flight was boarding. Continental American Airways, bound for Houston. She watched the passengers file past. White, black, Asian, Hispanic, young, old, rich, poor. All of them treated the same. All of them welcomed the same. All of them belonging. A flight attendant noticed her watching. Young guy. Couldn't have been more than 25. "Can I help you, miss?" Zara shook her head. "Just watching." "Are you flying with us today?" "Not today. Just visiting." The flight attendant smiled. "Well, if you ever do fly with us, I promise you'll be treated right. We don't play around with that stuff anymore." "I know. I made sure of it." The flight attendant looked confused. Then recognition dawned on his face. "Wait, are you Zara Williams? The Zara Williams? The one and only?" His eyes went wide. "Oh my God. We studied you in training, your speech, your story, everything. I hope it helped. It changed everything, the whole culture of this airline, because of you." Zara smiled. "Good. That was the goal." She turned and walked away. Behind her, the flight finished boarding. The doors closed. The plane taxied toward the runway, and somewhere up there at 37,000 feet, passengers were being treated with dignity because an 8-year-old girl refused to be silent, because she stood up when others sat down, because she spoke out when others stayed quiet, because she believed that change was possible even when it seemed impossible. Zara Williams walked out of JFK Airport into the bright New York sunshine. She was 10 years old now, still small for her age, still wearing gold beads in her braids, still carrying herself with that quiet strength that made people stop and stare. Her father was waiting by the car. "How was it?" "Good, they remember." "Of course they remember. You're unforgettable." She climbed into the back seat. "Daddy." "Yes, baby. I'm glad it happened, not the bad parts, but what came after. I'm glad I got to make a difference." Marcus looked at his daughter in the rearview mirror. "You know what your mother used to say?" "What?" "She used to say that pain is the price of purpose, that the things that hurt us most become the things that heal others." Zara thought about that. "She was smart, Mama. The smartest person I ever knew, until you came along." They drove toward the city, toward Eleanor's brownstone, toward jollof rice with extra pepper and arguments about politics and love that never died. And Zara Williams, the girl who faced down a racist flight attendant at 37,000 feet, who forgave the unforgivable, who spoke to the United Nations, who gave away her fortune to help others, looked out the window at the world she was helping to change. She didn't know what came next. She didn't need to. She knew who she was, and that was enough. It would always be enough, because Zara Williams was her mother's legacy and her father's pride and her grandmother's hope. She was the voice of the voiceless and the courage of the afraid and the change that the world didn't know it needed. She was just one girl, but one girl was enough to move mountains. One girl was enough to change everything, and she was only getting started.